So I think just picking that one actionable starting point is one of the most powerful things you can do. Otherwise, we go into analysis paralysis, thinking you've got to have it all perfect. You've got to finish it before you even start. It's like, just pick the what matters most right now. And that might just be setting up your camera on a tripod and recording it just to get comfortable.
On cam ready in 3, 2, 1. This is Unknown to Known, an on-cam ready presentation. I'm Jamie Maglietta. Today, we're having a YouTuber join us on the show. Her name is Lena Taylor. She's a DIYer, home improvement lifestyle YouTuber, and renovator. She's also a former real estate agent. I thought she'd be a perfect guest because I do work a lot with real estate agents on their visibility. I help people show up on camera and I host content days to help them wrap their head around how to create content and build that confidence. So Lena is going to tap into that and share some tips on how you can become more confident on camera. Lena is also going to share what she's been doing on YouTube and how she's diversifying. And she gives you tips on how to build that YouTube channel. Before we get to Lena, I wanted to show you her YouTube channel. Right now, she has over 75,000 subscribers with 300 videos. We are talking in October of 2025. So it's worth checking out her channel and seeing where it goes after this conversation. Lena is also a speaker, so check out the links in the description so you can connect with her and learn more about what she has going on. She's also working on some workshops, which we talk about in this video. There's so much you can gain from listening to this conversation. And if you're liking what I'm putting into this Unknown to Known podcast and YouTube show, please subscribe and leave a comment. If you hear something during this show that really resonates with you, share it. And if you think of a friend while you're listening to this conversation, send a link to this podcast or YouTube show to your friend. This could help them too on their journey from unknown to known. And now for my conversation with Lena. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jamie.
On Unknown to Known, we like to talk about all the different ways you can show up on camera. And I try to focus on having guests on this show that are either television personalities, YouTubers, influencers, social media experts that are at all different types of stages on that journey from unknown to known. And I'm really glad you could join us. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. Well, I can tell you, first of all, I never imagined that I would be a YouTuber. But today I am a YouTuber. I have a channel called Flipping Gorgeous. Prior to that, I was a real estate agent and ran a beauty company with my sister. And when the pandemic hit, everything kind of came to a stop for most people. And it gave me an opportunity to reassess where I was at, what I was doing, and show up on camera in a way that I had never shown up before because I had made real estate videos. But I always had a passion for DIY. But just like most people, life gets busy. We start putting our focus on other things. I had 3 small kids. I have a business to run. I'm trying to get back into real estate because my business is failing and I need to make some money to help this failing business. And in that pause, it was like, okay, what's going to happen? Everyone's scared. I'm scared. What am I going to do? I know what's going to fix everything. It's a dining room makeover. And so I just started painting my dining room, and I'm painting my dining room. And it was the first time in a long time in the pandemic, but also in just general, where I didn't feel kind of this like constant angst. Am I doing the right thing? I'm feeling behind. I should be here, should be there. And because of that, I just thought, you know what? I need to tell somebody else to paint a wall, to figuratively paint their wall, just to do anything that kind of grounds them or something they've been wanting to do that they've put off. That's going to give them just this sense of control and calmness. And I took out my iPhone, and at the time it was a Facebook video. I didn't have YouTube and I didn't have other platforms. And like I said, I made real estate videos, but I've never made a DIY video. I just thought, let me film this. Somebody might judge my color or I'm not doing it right. But to me, it's more important to reach that fellow mom who maybe is all of a sudden home now, homeschooling, doesn't know what's going to happen to her job. She's trying to balance all these things just to paint her wall, to just focus on the thing in front of her. And that's how I got here today, honestly.
It's incredible. And I'm sure our listeners can relate. When you have that moment of reflection and you want to just do something different, or you want to start taking charge of an uncontrollable situation that you face. Lena, it's very inspirational. Along the journey, to becoming a YouTuber, what challenges did you overcome? Like any personal inner challenges as well as external?
Be different from most YouTubers. I think most people set out maybe to start a YouTube channel to promote a business. To some people want to think that's the way they're going to get famous. They're going to become the next Mr. Beast. I don't know. For me, it was the first time I actually wanted to start something just for the sake of starting it and to have a creative outlet because my son had gotten diagnosed with autism. And so not only was I navigating shutting down this business that was failing and determining if I should stay in real estate, but now my son, we're navigating everything that's going on with him. I'm going to therapy appointments, doctor's appointments, hospitals, school meetings. And at that time, what my family needed from me in that moment was really to take charge of that. But I needed something else for myself. And so just refinishing furniture became my creative outlet, and filming those videos became my creative outlet. And that was the driving force that made me show up and want to make these videos. I was really just doing it for myself in the hopes of reaching another mom, another woman who was maybe going through the same thing.
Mhm. And you're getting me a little emotional because I feel like I'm in that place myself. It's when you hit that road of, I want to stay creative, I want to put my energy into something, and you're a mission driven person, you start to find those outlets and those ways to connect and help. And you've clearly helped and connected because your YouTube has grown so much since you've started. What do you think helped you become so relatable that it grew to such a level? I think we're at what, 70,000 or more subscribers at this point? Where are you at on
I
your
think
channel?
I'm a little over 75,000
Yeah.
subscribers. I've been doing YouTube now, I would say, for about 3 years. And
Mhm.
I think what has helped me grow, what I've seen in the comments section is people just saying, wow, that's very relatable. Or wow, you really took the time to explain that. You're not gatekeeping anything. You broke it down for me and gave me all the steps. So I think just trying to be that relatable person. And honestly, a lot of time in my videos, it's like, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing, but we're going to figure it out as we go. And I like to keep in the mistakes that I make
Mhm.
to show people, you don't have to get it right the first time.
Mhm.
You try something, you test it, you tweak it. I'm a firm believer of that, whether it's doing a DIY project or making a video.
I wanted to break away from this conversation to let you know about Riverside. I use Riverside FN as my content creation studio. All of my YouTube videos I will record using Riverside. I even have a video on my YouTube channel teaching you how to add a second camera so you can have multiple angles while recording content for YouTube. It's a great content creation platform because every long form video you make, it then breaks it down into 3-minute segments and AI clips for social media. Plus, these AI features keep getting added to Riverside. If you're interested in trying Riverside, there's a link in my description. Use my code OCR15 for a discount. The other thing I wanted to bring up is branding, your personal branding. I have been on a journey trying to figure out how to turn my ideas into content that is beneficial to you. So I have a visibility program coming out. It should be out by the time you listen to this. Visit my website oncamready.com if you want to learn how to become more visible online to promote your personal brand. But if you're at the beginning of that journey and you really want to know how to even build a personal brand and what you can do with it, consider brand builders. There's a link to brand builders in my description as well. Both Lena and I have been on this unknown to known journey, and we both use brand builders. So if you're looking for a branding organization, a organization to help you with building out your book, your courses, your online presence, consider brand builders and use my link if you do. Now back to the conversation. Oh, yeah. My husband's a DIYer, so he's starting his own YouTube channel.
I love that.
He's been flipping our house for 12 years, we bought this home and he, does everything. He builds little custom. I'm looking at like, I'm looking at it. I can't show you, but he builds all these custom shelves and he does these wood panelings in the ceilings. He just built a bookshelf. He did our entire kitchen. He's renovating bathrooms. And I'm like, honey, I think we need to turn the camera around on you. You're doing a lot and you make mistakes and you overcome them. And that's going to be relatable. And it is. And I think that that's the power of your channel right now. And a few of the videos, I watched, you're very personable. You're talking to them as if they're in the room. And for those that are listening, what's really trending right now on social media and in these YouTube spaces is that authenticity. And a lot of you have asked, how do I become authentic? Well, it's taking people along for the journey. It's talking to them as if they're in the room. It's being what Lena's doing right now with her channel, which is why I wanted to have her on this show. So, Lena, how do you keep up with the authenticity and be the self that you want to show people without maybe showing everything?
I think choosing something that you're passionate about, but is something that you wouldn't mind if somebody criticizes, helps
Uh,
be a little more authentic. I can put out there, here's how I'm doing this. For example, I think I posted a video yesterday of doing a piece of furniture and someone really didn't like my technique for staining it. And they felt the need to tell me, you didn't get it all off. It looks splotchy. It would look better if you did it this way. But that's not going to stop me from showing up because I'm like, okay, whatever. You didn't like it, but I'm doing it and it's real. Now, if I was choosing to make content around something very personal, let's say my child with autism or my inner workings of my family, it would be harder to show up in a little more authentic way because I would be more concerned about what people would be thinking in a judgmental frame. So when someone tells me they want to start a YouTube channel or they want to start showing up on social media, I say pick something that you love and you're passionate about. But if somebody comes and decides they're having a bad day and they want to leave you a not nice comment, it's not going to stop you from still showing up as yourself.
And that's so true. I had a conversation with conservative commentator Victoria Churchill. She's with the Daily Mail. And we talked about trolling online and how it can stop you from moving forward if you don't have thick skin about it. Now, you're a former real estate agent. So you've heard no many times. You've had the rejection. Not many people know how to deal with that. So it's interesting to hear your take. And I think that for those that are listening, it's worth noting that she's basically saying, to just roll with it, keep being yourself, and that's going to help you continue to grow and show up. But have you ever had any moments on YouTube where you're like, ooh, maybe I should delete this? Or are you like, no, I'm keeping it all?
I think when I got too personal about some stuff, when I started opening up about some other things, and then people started to comment on more life choices. And that's when I realized, oh, for me, there's certain things I'm going to not make content around. Maybe you get little bits and pieces, but for me, that's why I think I've had success in the DIY and the home improvement area because I love it and I'm passionate about it. But it's also something I'm trying to navigate as I go into, hey, I want to talk to people about something deeper. And I've got to figure out, just like you're saying, what are those stories that I'm willing to tell? What are the things that have been challenges for me that I'm okay opening up to? And what if someone comes and says, hey, we don't, you know what really has stopped me more than anything is being afraid people don't want something else from me besides DIY and home improvement, because that's sometimes the challenge of starting in a pretty specific niche
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
wanting to break out of the niche, which
Mhm.
might end up being two channels. But that had stopped me before too. When I posted something and I said, hey, when are you going to get back to your DIY stuff? I'm like, okay, got it.
Noted. I had over the summer I was reviewing YouTube podcasts and I started to review it because people kept coming to me saying, you're known for media criticism, identifying who to trust, who not to trust, because that's the type of shows I had. So I was at Reliable Sources. Then I had a Media Mix podcast and now I have a show on YouTube called Sanity. And it's all about the media, and so people started to say, maybe you need to do that on your YouTube channel. So I tested it out over the summer. One of the videos got 7,000 views. And I was like, I guess I have to now. But if you don't want to, it's like, well, do I need a second channel? You start going down that road of, can I be more than in one spot? And it's all about navigating it and trying to identify who you want to show up as and staying consistent. So I've decided I'll continue, but I'm trying to weave it into also the guests that I have too. So that's why I had Victoria, and I have a media correspondent coming up from Axios. She'll be on with us. So that's, it's all about trying to find the balance and identifying those pillars is what I always tell people. Like, what are the pillars that you want to lay out and wrap yourself around with each post, or in like a segment way, like television producers, where I'm going to have my DIY segment. I'm going to have personal. I may get some fashion in because I'm really exploring sewing now. It's trying to figure out who you are and just being, well-rounded. At least that's what I think. Would you agree to some extent?
I love your take on that. I love looking at your channel as a media outlet because
Mhm.
let's go back to most media channels. They're not just covering one thing. They're going to have, like you said, a lifestyle segment. They're going to
Yeah.
have a news segment. They're going to have things. And I have thought about looking at that way before and branching out. I think if they all stay within a certain theme, Forbes isn't going to tell you how to decorate your table for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. But they may talk about sewing. Like, I mean, you,
Yeah.
for example,
Yeah.
you could DIY into fashion through sewing. Like, I'm going to DIY. So I don't know if you have, but you could. Or it's like, all right, I want to go into beauty. Maybe it's DIY creams and makeups.
Yeah.
There's a way to do it where you can be, at least I feel like you can make it into your own media channel and be more diverse.
Yes, with a common kind of thread or a common theme. I think people with your audience will go that way. And sometimes we evolve, right? Like we're humans. We're not meant to stay one thing forever. It's kind of like going back to painting your wall. You might pick a color right now that works for you for the next 5 years. In 5 years, you might go, I want to change it all up. I want to have a new couch. I want to have a new color. And that's okay.
Mhm.
And you keep maybe you love that couch so much that you're not willing to part with that couch. So you've got to pick a color that doesn't clash with that couch, but you want a new color. And so it's kind of staying within that, right? I
So
think
true.
life is all DIY and home renovation metaphors for me and my brain. So I kind of look at even evolving on YouTube that same way.
So you sound like you want to experiment. Are you already starting to think of ways to brand your channel in a new direction, or take it in a new direction, or add in other elements of you?
To be quite honest with you, this is something that I probably have been overthinking for the past. I've tried a little bit. I'm just going to be completely honest, because I think we all struggle
Yeah.
with overthinking, right? Like we all overthink a lot. And sometimes we're so close to our own, what we're trying to do, that we can't see it. So sometimes, I have to take a step back and go, well, Lena, if I were you and I came to you with this question, how would you advise me? Would you tell me to start a different channel? Would you tell me to just do it this way? So what I have decided right now, because I have dabbled, trying to maintain two channels is a lot. And
It
this
is.
life, right? Creating the content. I experimented with a podcast for a bit. So again, I'm a big believer of just trying things sometimes to give yourself that permission to go, I don't have to commit to this. I just want to try it. I want to see if it feels right. I want to see if it works. So I've tried a few things and gone, that didn't feel right there. And so I have decided that on my channel, Flipping Gorgeous, within my videos, I can tie in some of this other stuff. Like for instance, in one of my more recent videos, I'm redoing a dresser, right? And I'm talking again in metaphor. It's like, wow, I'm sitting here and I'm sanding this dresser, and it's making me think about life. How sometimes we got to get stripped away. Things have to be taken away, and it requires a grit. It's not going to be easy, but in order to become something new, we're going to have to go through that. So I'm finding ways to weave in some of this deeper stuff that I want to talk to, but without making that the main subject of the video.
I love that. That's a really smart way. And you are building out, it as a media channel with motivation, inspiration, personal, thoughts. And that's great, because you are making it broader then. It's more than DIY. That gives you longevity, wouldn't you say?
Yes. And I think if you're going to do what I've also decided, if you're going to try to do two separate things, I think starting with two separate YouTube channels is a lot to take on at once. I think starting with a social media platform is probably an easier way to do it. So, for instance, on Instagram, my Instagram is my name. It's Lena B. Taylor. That's where I feel like I get to be all of Lena, not just DIY and home renovation Lena, but I'm mom Lena and I'm Lena working on, you're kind of seeing me in real life go after the things that I want
Yeah.
to go on. And I think that has been a way for me to kind of separate the two.
Mhm.
And then, I have a TikTok channel that's flipping gorgeous. And I'm leaving that just to the home renovation and the DIY stuff because that's what that audience wants from me. And for a while, I struggled. Do you separate them? But for me personally, I decided separating the YouTube channel to stay within that niche is the right thing to do and weave in some of this content in the videos itself, but keep the channel what the subscribers initially came for.
Yeah. And that is hard. And I know so many people are trying to figure that out. I have one YouTube channel that I manage and because it started out as one thing and then they changed it to something else, there was this huge lull. It was hard to get people to watch, hard to get people to listen because you're having that changeover. And that makes it difficult. But, let's go back to the fact that, you were a real estate agent before. So you're used to having the camera on you. And now you're turning it on for YouTube. What does it take to really become confident on camera, in your opinion?
I think it takes tapping into something you're passionate about. So while I was a real estate agent, there were parts of real estate that I felt passionate about and parts that I didn't so much feel passionate about. But I was on a team and we'd make these weekly videos of, here's a market update. And so having somebody else to start with me, to be next to you helps a bit get over those fears. But then I started doing home tours and I didn't realize at the time, I could have used YouTube to really position myself as, or use it towards my real estate career wasn't even a thought. I mean, I will make this confession right now. Here, people today look at me like, oh, Lena, she's a YouTuber and a YouTuber expert. I never once made a YouTube video for real estate.
Mhm.
Never once. I knew I
Wow.
probably should. I thought about it. I didn't know where to begin. But
Mm.
I made, social media and Facebook what was a little bit
Mhm.
more accessible at the time.
Yeah.
But being passionate about taking people on home tours or talking about what's going on in the city made it easier to show up. Now, on the other side of the coin, I had this business with my sister. While I was in real estate, we started an organic skincare company. We were kind of the first to market. This was back when organic stuff was not easy to come by or it was incredibly expensive. And my sister is a makeup artist. And so it's really kind of her wheelhouse. But I love building things and I love my sister and I wanted to help women. So I was like, great, I'll do it with you.
Yeah.
Be the behind the scenes person because I could not make a video to save my life about makeup and beauty products because it just wasn't something authentic and natural to me.
Yeah.
But I can make a video all day long about painting my wall or doing this project. So I think what it takes is tapping into something you're passionate about and you naturally enjoy and can talk about to get started.
Yeah. And, just with television, right? TV anchors and reporters, they don't just show up on national news. They take time. A lot of people will say it's through repetition. I believe you create content through creating content. The more content you create, the more times you put yourself out there, you start to become more confident, more clear as to what you want. And you also start to see the full potential, right? So many people come to me and they'll say, I just don't like the way I look. I'm like, well, the more and more you put yourself on camera, the more comfortable you're going to feel because the more you're going to realize, oh, if I position myself this way, my jawline actually looks a little better than if I'm looking like this. So you'll start to figure out how you look better on camera. But did you ever have those moments where you're like, I can't believe I recorded that. I shouldn't be putting this up because I don't look the way I want to look? Or do you just say, you know what? I don't care. That's who I am. That's what I'm doing.
Well, first, I think it's great that people have a resource for you, like you to go, my jawline looks better if I turn this way. Because now I'm going to incorporate that. I didn't even think about that.
Like if you lean forward, so television anchors, like you lean forward, you start to get like, what do you think? Like they're like, really leaning.
What? No, this is great. This is why you are a gym to so many people who want to show up on camera. I think looking back, certainly I look back and I go, wow, that was really cringy.
Mhm.
And to
Yeah.
be honest, I want to delete them, but I
Mm.
don't delete them. You know why? Because I really hope someone will go back and watch that first video and
Mhm.
go, like, I watched my first video, one of my first videos on YouTube the other day. It was hard to watch. I was like, why am I so close to the camera? What is up with this eyeshadow that I have? I'm gonna copy what they tell people to do. I had one of those crazy thumbnails, like,
Mhm.
with the open face. Because so many times when we start, we want to copy what somebody else is doing, right? And just like you're saying, it takes that time to go, wait, that's not quite my voice. That's not how I want to look. That's not what I want to. So I certainly look back at them and I go, ooh, wow, like I still was carrying that baby weight. Want to take that one down. Or, I sound weird or I look weird but I leave it up just out of wanting to help somebody else who doesn't feel ready. And I've been inspired by other YouTubers who have done that. So I've just thought, I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah, when I was reviewing the YouTube podcasts, I noticed some of them have evolved to a point where they're completely different than where they started off. And they have huge followings now, but where before they might have started every podcast in a suit, now they're wearing like a sweater and a hat. They're just trying to be more themselves because they're trying to be consistent. You have to figure out who you can show up as every day for the camera if you really want to make it work, because it isn't just a one video a week. You have to have a rhythm in order to really start growing on YouTube or on any of these platforms. It's difficult. I'm watching this one YouTuber who started a year ago. He's already at 100,000, and I believe it's because he shows up as he is every day, 5 minutes. That's it, 5 minutes. And that's not even the monetization time, guys. It's 8. So now he's longer videos, clearly because he can monetize. But it's interesting to watch what people are doing on YouTube. I'm trying to make it my focus lately. And yeah, my sister-in-law, she's a guest on this show. Her video is out, Amanda Brooke, and she has a YouTube as well as a TikTok, and she went from basically a few hundred people to 30,000 on TikTok in a year. And again, her whole thing is showing up, just talking to the camera and sharing her life and sharing what she's doing. So it's all about what Lena's saying, tap into what you know, what your expertise is, and identify how you can make it into a long form content like what Lena's doing with her show, or how you break it down into TikToks, and try to build an audience that way. Either way, you want to build before you really start to expect monetization. But with YouTube, you must have other projects that you're trying to reach out or do outside of that, or do you still dabble with real estate? Where are you at?
Well, I just want to acknowledge what you said real quick, Jamie.
Great. Okay.
Action creates clarity. You're so right. Like you just got to show up and you're going to find your confidence in your voice and your style. So that is such an important thing to know is action creates that clarity. And for me, like I've said, it's been my own action of trying different things and saying, okay, do I just want to stay in YouTube? Do I want to show up other places? For me, I realized that YouTube and growing on YouTube and becoming confident on camera also overflows into other parts of your life.
Yes.
And so for me, I had always dreamed of speaking. But I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what I would talk to people about. So in the past year, I've started speaking.
I love that.
Yes, and I love speaking. There's something about connecting with people face to face, right? And I think that's some of the dangers, the trap we can fall into YouTube. You might film that first video and feel disappointed that only 40 people watched it. And we go quick into that narrative of, oh, well, I'm not good, only 40 people. But if you're in a room of 40 people, and one person comes up to you and says, wow, that really inspired me, or thank you, I'm going to take that. So I try to apply that now to my videos and remember that every single view is a person.
Yeah.
And it's your stage and it's your platform. Sometimes you can't go out and be on a physical stage. So don't forget that either. Like YouTube is an amazing platform for you to get your message out. So I've been speaking more. I love speaking. I have small kids, so I'm having to figure out what that looks like for me in this season. And I'm creating some of my own speaking events here locally. I'm going to start doing small little workshops for women just to come out and learn something and get to be creative and gain community, because I think so many of us need community more than ever. So I'm focused on speaking. I'm focused on starting these little meetups. And YouTube, like I said, is still a passion for mine and it will always be there. And I think as I evolve into these other things, it is going to play a certain role, but it has opened so many doors for me. And it has also, like I said, helped me step into other areas where maybe I wouldn't have had the confidence before
Mhm.
to start pursuing.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're not, for everyone who's listening, we may be virtually, but we're in the same state. We're not very far from one another. So I'm going to say something. I love the workshop idea. I think that that's really good, especially for our area. I'm working with this group of women and we're all trying to be more visible and even trying to tap into that mindset, right? It's like how you show up outside of these DIY projects, like what you do to show up, trying to come up with workshops around that could be really useful to the community and could be great for you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really just trying to think, how can I serve
Yeah.
somebody the most? And that you can serve people through a YouTube channel, through a podcast, through a book, but sometimes you cannot replace that one-to-one interaction where someone can just come to you and say, here's where I'm stuck and I'm struggling. So that's why I like the idea of kind of these small, intimate workshops. I've gained so much from being parts of masterminds and YouTube groups and things that a lot of women don't have access to. So I really
Yeah, and that is so true. I have a mastermind that I'm trying to build up right now. It's mainly because I felt like so many of these women just didn't have someone to hold them accountable or someone to point them in the right direction. Like we were talking offline, it's like, who do you talk to about this? Where do you go for this? It's nice to have, and not everyone has that. You've talked about how to show up on camera, even when life is messy. So, do you have any actionable tips for people that are listening that may want to start their own YouTube channel that could help them show up on camera?
I have a couple different ways that I would suggest to approach it if you are not showing up already. And I think what happens is a lot of times we look at starting a YouTube channel or we look at starting a TikTok or just filming the videos and we can kind of get so overwhelmed by the big picture of it, right? Going back to my home renovation analogies, you buy a house, you want to renovate it, you're looking at it, it's a massive project, but you're not going to try to do it all at once. I say pick a wall, pick one wall, start with that, conquer that, paint that wall, move on to the next. So I think just picking that one actionable starting point is one of the most powerful things you can do. Otherwise, we go into analysis paralysis, thinking you've got to have it all perfect. You've got to finish it before you even start. It's like, just pick the what matters most right now. And that might just be setting up your camera on a tripod and recording it just to get comfortable. And then once you master that, okay, maybe it's time to publish it. Now, once you master publishing, maybe it's time to really focus on your hook. Once you get the hook, let's really focus on, the really intricate parts, but you just got to start. So I'd say number one, identify your wall. Where are you going to start? What's the first starting point? Conquer that, move on to the next. And then you just gain that momentum from there.
Yeah. I love that. And then you just define what your success from that point too, or
I'm a very firm believer that there is not one right way to accomplish something. There's only one right way for you right now. So you and I starting YouTube channels is going to look completely different because our lives are completely different. Our backgrounds are completely different. Our priorities are different. Our lifestyles are different. Our goals are different. And so everyone needs to understand, like, you have your own shade of success, if you will. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's. It has to be what fits your life in a way that is manageable for you. So you need to identify really what is the purpose of you wanting to be on camera? Why? That some people call that your why. What's the purpose of this? For me to start, the purpose was I just needed that outlet. I just needed that creative outlet. I needed something for me. And I was having this lifestyle of, I got to be mom. So how can I fit it into my life, And then doing something that helped me be energized and doing it at night after the kids went to bed. And all I wanted out of it to start was just feeling like I had something for me. At first, I was not worried about the I didn't even know you could monetize YouTube at first. When I found out you could monetize YouTube, I was like, oh, holy smokes, wait, what? And then, and also I mentioned before, like I had gotten myself a little bit of trouble with a business that I started a little bit over my head. So approaching YouTube and content creation for me was great because it was $0 to start a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So again, you've got to really look at your own life, your goals, what you can dedicate, what you want to get out of it. What are you willing to spend to decide what success looks like for you in this season and not necessarily compare ourselves to other people.
Well, how do people determine what matters most?
I think it goes back to your priorities in the season that you're in. The short term, what has to take my immediate attention right now. Some of it is stuff we think we should do that maybe we need to let go of. Some of it we don't necessarily want to do, but have to do. And then we need to think long term as well. So I think it's a matter of identifying what has to take the priority right now, but where are you going and building with that in mind.
Yeah, it's like you need to have that long game. And in some people, they don't have that long game plan. They just know that what they want to do right now. And that's okay too. It's all about trying to build your brand in a way that suits who you are and your family life. Because I always tell people, like, do you really want everyone to know everything about what you have going on? And most people say no. And I say, well, then you need to figure out a way to show that side and be authentic about it without being too personal. And I think, when you identify what matters most to you, it's really going to be in that vein of what she's saying of what makes you happy, right? What do you enjoy doing? What are you an expert at? What do you know more than anyone else? And how can you start explaining and sharing that in a long form way? And YouTube may not be the answer. You may be listening to this thinking, I still don't know if I could do a YouTube channel. You could do a newsletter. I love Substack. You collect emails on Substack. There's so many different ways. So I would just love to get your last piece of advice, Lena, as people are trying to figure out, who they want to be online to build their brand and to go from unknown to known within their industry or niche.
I think the last thing that I want to share is once you start getting into this, and again, find where you are most comfortable creating first. It might be short form content, and then you work your way up to long content. That's probably the easiest way to do it, or to start the long form and then figure out how to take little bites of what you've talked about long form. But I think we all unfortunately get into this comparison trap where we look at how somebody else is doing it and we think, oh, am I behind? Do I need to be doing it that way? Oh, I don't have that yet. Or they've shared all these things. And we don't realize sometimes that comparison makes us kind of want to covet something we wouldn't even be willing to pay the cost for. So that's why it's important when you start out to understand, what would this look like for me if it aligned with my highest life priorities, with my bigger mission and goal, so that when you find yourself in that comparison trap, you go, wait, I don't even want that. Why am I comparing myself to this person? And so I think that helps us continue to show up because we know why we're doing it and what we're doing it for, and then allows us to just continue to run our race and not worry about what other people are doing.
I love that. I want to break away from this conversation again to give you a quick tip. If you're serious about gaining press and attracting the media, producers don't always just find you. You need the right people pitching your story. That's why I recommend the Garisco Group. They know how to take your expertise and turn it into headlines. There's a link in my description, and if you reach out, be sure to mention my name, Jamie, so they know I've sent you. And now back to the show. And since, I am a television producer, I am now asking guests at the end to give me a 30-second description of what they do. So, Lena, if you had 30 seconds to describe what you do and why, what would you say?
Lena, I'm the creator of Flipping Gorgeous. I help women give themselves permission to go after their dreams their ways. I do this by inspiring them through my DIY and home improvement channel. I do this by speaking on stages. And hopefully, I'm going to do this by writing a book that is going to change millions of women's lives.
Love it. Thank you, Lena, for being with us. And everybody, if you want to get to know Lena, there'll be links in the description. You can also check out her YouTube channel. Lena, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. And thank you to your audience for their time today listening to this.